Thank you for coming back to Diversity in Central Ohio, a program of the Columbus Community Relations Commission and of our mayor, Michael B. Coleman. This second segment, we're going to talk about the Martin Luther King program put on by the city of Columbus. And we want to show you first a clip and some of the back scenes things that were going on. Some of the writers, we got writers in the studio today. But first we want to show you a couple of excerpts from the show so you can see what was going on, and then we'll introduce you to our guest and talk about it.
Together, we can make a difference. Oh yeah, together, we can make a difference.
Oh, don't get me wrong, honey. I'm all for equality. But it sounds like this mixing is the root of all this violence, don't you think?
Well, I can't disagree with that, but I think it's worth the hoopla.
What I'm gonna do with this? I told you, where I'm from.
Coach loaned me the book. He's got a bunch of tips written in the margins. I think he meant for his son. To tell you the truth, I think his son always just wanted to be a basketball player.
Hey, thanks. But why are you doing this for me?
I can see how much you want this. Plus, if you're as good as you say you are, I could use you. Make me look even better when I'm catching touchdown passes. Not that I need any help looking good.
Yeah, well, I beg to differ. That shirt tells a different story.
What's the matter with my shirt? By the way, I'm James.
I'm Neal. Nice to know you.
But honestly, I'm really proud of our boys and their friends. Giving up tomorrow afternoon to make blankets for kids they've never even met.
I never fail to be in awe of these kids with their generosity and ambition. It's a wonderful thing to see. And besides, they know we're bringing these cookies.
I wonder how many we'd lose if we weren't bringing these cookies.
A few.
Oh, I'm having sweet reflections of our program. So this is Nelson Hewitt, Neal Semel again. We're here, and we have special guests in the studio this segment. We have with us Joseph Frazier. Hi, Joseph. Joseph is a fifth-year OSU senior.
That's right.
The OSU.
That's right.
All right, Joseph. And then we also have Lindsay Kamine. Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay's also a senior at the OSU. Correct. And then we have Dan Willis, president of First Class Productions, who has been the wonderful person doing the productions for the City of Columbus celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King for the last...
Since 1994.
Since 1994. Mm-hmm. And these two young people that we have here are writers. Yes. Because this program has grown to a certain point now, we have writers. But the first thing we need to do is what we do for all of our guests on Diversity in Central Ohio, and we wouldn't want you to miss that chance. We'd like you to give us your definition of diversity. What is diversity to you? And Joseph, we're going to start with you, and then we'll go to Lindsay, and then we'll have Dan.
Okay. Well, to me, diversity is being surrounded by those who challenge and hopefully, inform and further develop your worldviews and your perspectives. So when I think of diversity, I don't necessarily think of one characteristic, but anything in others that differ from yourself to progress your development.
And expand. I like that word, expand. Okay, thank you, Joseph. Lindsay, what about you?
Yeah, that was a good answer after all of that. Well, I would say that diversity is being able to recognize the differences between people that you are involved with, whether it be in your work world or school world or personal world, but also being able to acknowledge and appreciate those differences for what they are, for being different. I love keeping an open mind, and I think that could possibly be one of my other definitions for diversity, having an open mind and appreciating what other people can do to help you expand.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay. All right, Dan,
Okay.
we left you the easy part.
Thank you. I think of diversity in terms of a process. I think of it as a process of strengthening. It's a process of strengthening either the individual or strengthening the community in which the individual lives. It doesn't mean that you have to accept all these different things, but they all have value. And when you put them all together, it truly strengthens a community because the value that everyone offers improves the situation or the community for everyone. So I see it as a process of strengthening when I think of diversity. You know, because otherwise you'd have that one-winged bird. It doesn't fly. And so everything helps us be a better community.
Well, these are all great definitions of diversity.
Absolutely. Well, we just saw a little clip of the show, and it's just a brief segment, but tell us a little bit about what we saw.
Every year we put together a program where we work with the Center for the Study of Teaching and Writing at The Ohio State University. And Trish Houston, who's the advisor, selects students to help us write the script every year. And they take this blind walk with us, you know, on faith, going, okay, I'm supposed to do this, but I don't really know why, but I'll give you my trust and my faith and my effort. And we have a third person, Tricia, who was also on the team too, but she couldn't be here tonight. And starting in fall quarter, we come up with a concept, they do research, we write, we rewrite, and we rewrite again, and continue to rewrite and hone the process of creating a story that is historical. And to explain a story that's 42 years old, you know, is really difficult to do. But then we also write it in a way that one of our jobs in the very beginning, if you remember I mentioned, is to challenge our audience to be a part of our community. Challenge our audience to be better than they were when they came in. You know, we always talk about how we stand on the shoulders of others. So when they come to our program, they learn the history, like in this case, like the Little Rock Nine, but they also learned how Columbus chose to make a decision of desegregation in Columbus public schools. And then they learn what's going on today in schools. So the way that the mothers interacted and talked about social services or providing services to community agencies and things, they talked about their friendship and how it was different now than it was when they were kids. So what I want people to do is not only just understand our history, which is really important, but they need to be empowered to make a change in their own lives the way they can. And that's what our students do. Our students write these stories, and they always have a moral to the story, hopefully, to give people inspiration to be better than they were before. And I was so proud of what they did this year.
So it's more than just an entertainment piece.
Hopefully. That's why it couples well with the youth volunteer fair we had in the lobby. I mean, our parents bring their children to our show to learn our collective history, our shared history. And when they go out in the hallway, they have an opportunity with 23 agencies to give of their time and free service hours to these agencies to give back to the community. Why not start when a kid is 8 years old? Why do they have to be 80? You know, so hopefully our show is a catalyst for people to think about how can I re-engage myself with my community here in Columbus. That I do have a responsibility in this town more than paying taxes and more than putting my garbage on the curb. But I can take proactive procedures or processes to make the community better. And I hope that that's the way that we can continue Dr. King's legacy by inspiring people to take that charge. Muhammad Ali said, our rent for walking this planet is community service. He didn't say how much, he didn't say what to do, but our charge is to do something. And so hopefully our goal is that our audience realizes that that is their charge to make a difference.
And I know every year you do a theme.
Yes.
That's kind of embedded within the programming. If you would, tell us what the theme was this year, and I think it kind of alluded to in the clips that we saw, and what some of the themes in the past have been.
This year the theme was Celebrate the Legacy. We use that every year. This year is Getting on the Bus. So rather than talking about Rosa Parks, we decided to talk about education and busing and the positive way that Columbus Public Schools took to make that change of Brown versus the Board of Education. Where Boston had bloodshed and people rioting in the streets, Columbus didn't have one incident for that whole period of time, not one, because they took a proactive stance on initiating desegregation in Columbus. We've had a lot of different topics over the years. One of the ones that stands out stands out the most are Young Hands That Shaped the Movement. We talk about children who were instrumental in the civil rights movement back in the 60s. We had one about 4 women, the wives of civil rights leaders, and why they chose to continue with their husbands' legacies in the community.
That'd be a good one for people to review this month with the Black History theme of the Library of Congress being women in African American history and that kind of thing. So that would be great.
And March is Women's History Month.
Yes.
So you know, it ties in very well. So we try and take historical pieces that we think of interest and try and share them in a different way, and again challenge our audiences to make a difference.
Let me remind our audience that this is a call-in show. You can call in and ask these folks questions. The number is 645-6557. And I want to ask the two of you, students, what made you get involved in this project? What about I know Dan's very impressive when he talks, but what about this made it something personal for you? And Lindsay, let's start with you, and then we'll come to Joseph.
Well, as Dan mentioned, we were offered this internship individually when we enrolled into the professional writing minor program. There are a lot of internships available, so when Trish told me this is an option for you, I think you could really excel in this area, then it was just like, wow, this is so exciting. This is nothing I had ever thought I could do for an internship or in my life, to actually write a screenplay. And then when I realized it was to be performed for the Martin Luther King Day celebration in Columbus, it was really exciting to be able to write something so important to the city and actually have people watch it and hopefully appreciate it and learn from it. So I got into it for all the experience, just all around. It was really exciting to get into.
What about you, Joseph?
Well, it's an interesting experience because it's creative at one end, and it has a very distinct purpose on the other end. And I've never had the opportunity to apply my creative side towards something civic and towards something with such a purpose to it. So, and then, you know, to get to apply my writing, the writing that I work on, to that, it was a great experience.
I want to ask you a little bit about background in terms of, had you had experience or interest in civil rights, Dr. King, these kinds of movements prior to being involved with this project? Or did you kind of embrace it as part of the project?
I would say my experience with Dr. King wasn't expansive before I came to the project. Back when I was in grade school, I did a couple years of a speech writing contest and progressed on through that. And so I studied, you know, a bunch of different speeches, and Dr. King's speeches were in that. So it was nice to kind of circle back and study his words in a different context this time around.
How about you, Lindsay?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say I had too much experience with Dr. King. I had the privilege of going to D.C. and seeing the new monument, so that was really exciting. That was about the same time when I accepted this internship, so that was really exciting.
Perfect year to get to do this, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see this monument to him and be able to write about it and be inspired by it. But no, unfortunately, learning and researching for this script was probably the most research I've ever done for Martin Luther King, and it was great, especially since we focused it on Columbus and Columbus history. That was really good stuff to learn about.
What were some of the ways you researched? I mean, how did you find out these pieces of Columbus history?
We actually did a lot of interviewing. Dan collected a list of names that had already approved us to call them and interview them, so that was nice. I had a list of questions.
People that lived during that time, that went through the busing process.
Thank you.
Primary source interviews.
Right, and we had a collection of people who were students during busing, parents of students who were bused, teachers and school administrators during that time, and historians and professors from the university.
Wow, so you really got deep into it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we got deep into all the aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what about this process surprised the two of you? Did anything surprise you? Did things happen during this process?
Be nice.
Besides Dan's being the director, yes.
Well, like Dan pointed out, we actually did not find any one violent instance in Columbus during this time of busing, and we just went in kind of with a negative mindset, thinking that there had to have been some sort of chaos to erupt from this huge change, this desegregation. But to our surprise, it's a great surprise, there wasn't the kind of chaos that Boston saw when they were undergoing desegregation. So we had to change our game plan a lot. I mean, we go into this not exactly knowing what we're going to find or what we're going to write about, but we were pretty certain that we were going to find something tragic. Happy we didn't.
Yeah. The part of the process, we meet weekly all fall quarter at OSU in Mendenhall, and part of their internship is to offer 10 hours a week toward this process of writing the script. So they write, they bring it to the conference room at Mendenhall at OSU, and we discuss it, and we talk about it, and retool it, and come up with other ideas, and they go away happy or sad, and they come back again the next week. And we do this for the whole quarter, and they get a script to the point that it's final and producible by the end of the quarter. And I think that the fact that this is really a testament to their commitment as writers, that you can go into something and not really understand all of it, or that vantage point, but are willing to do the research and look under the rocks, look behind the tree, and try and get not just the front story, but what is the back story, and what story is interesting to people to understand the point that you're trying to make. And I'm surprised that people as so young, that they were willing to do that for the whole quarter. And I think that in their career as writers, which is what they want to do, that they'll just not sit there and write. They'll go the extra mile to be the better writer, because they'll know there's always another story, and that research elicits a good story. A lot of times people don't want to do research beyond Google or Google Scholar. And as we found out, there's a whole lot of stories that aren't on the web. And they're willing to do that, and they're willing to go through that process of development as a good writer. And they also have now a DVD in their portfolio, and their names are in the credits as writers of the show, you know.
Well, on that note, what did you guys learn? Since you have aspirations towards being professional writers, did this experience help you in that direction? What did you learn that might apply to that?
It's hard. I mean, it was a really hard process because, you know, in all the writing that I've done so far, it's all been for school, and you're always given the premise. You're always writing towards a really defined objective. You know, you're critiquing a book, you're analyzing some historical period or whatever. We came into this knowing that it had something to do with MLK and something to do with Columbus, but you know, we had to create.
That's about it.
And we had to create the premise, you know, ourselves at the beginning, which is a completely different process than what you do in school. But I imagine that's the kind of thing you do after school. So it was great to be able to get that experience under my belt before I'm shoved out there.
Yeah.
Lindsay, what would you add?
Well, it was also great to be able to work with the other interns and Dan, being directed by each other, because since this is a piece of creative writing, you almost feel like you wouldn't have that kind of direction. We both come from creative writing backgrounds a little bit, and I've never had to write around someone else's idea. It was great collaborating with everyone. I don't mean to say that it wasn't, but that's probably the greatest learning turn that I got from this experience, was that to work with everyone and bounce ideas off each other. We read the scripts together so many times, and we're not very good actors, but that was a lot of fun, helping each other and guiding each other the whole way.
One of the things
we have a caller, Dan. So we want to get our caller in here, so we'll come back. We'll come back to you. Caller, are you there? Do you have a comment or a question?
Yes, I'd like to leave you with a haiku. I admire the young people on the show, and I'm almost 80, but my idea that communities are like diamonds with many facets, and we need them all in order to sparkle.
Very nice.
That's great.
That's a beautiful metaphor. Yeah. So, Dan, you were getting ready to say...
One of the things I hope that comes out of the process, because we've been working with The Ohio State University for 8 years now, is that not only do the students produce a DVD, a script that's wonderful, but also you learn a process of what collaboration means. Because in the real workforce, your boss may say, I want you to do this, and not tell you any more than that, just like we did with us. You may be in a situation where you work with people that you don't know, and you have to size up where their skills are, where their weaknesses are, and then how well can you work with them. And then you produce something. And so I'm hoping is that you've learned how the process works from beginning to end, that it can be successful, that wherever you go in this world and you've been asked to do that, you know that it is possible to do it. Okay? Because again, you guys didn't know each other beforehand, and the three of you came together and made this thing work and became a tight team. And I think that's a very important business decision, you know, a business experience for you.
I agree.
So we're so grateful for our caller who said jewels and sparkling and those kind of things. Does that strike anything in you, what they're saying about how the work that you do is important for the community? I think that's another thing.
Well, it also shows the power of words. I think what the caller was doing was saying the importance of words and how powerful they are, and that when you write anything, your word choice is just as important as the meaning you're trying to convey to your audience. So you're diamonds.
And it's great to, you know, for the 10 weeks that we were writing this, we trekked up, you know, 4 flights of stairs to this tiny little room with the worst lighting, no windows, and, you know, pouring over these same words that we had been looking at, you know, for hours and hours before. So it's great to hear, you know, what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
See how they
It's
reverberate
wonderful.
Do you remember what Angela Pace said about? Angela Pace was one of the hosts for our program. And she came off the stage, and I heard that she talked to the writers, and she said that she thanked you for humanizing our history.
That's right.
And you know, Angela has a journalism background, a very heavy journalism background, and for her to offer that to the students, I thought was just wonderful. You know, and to have people in the audience send emails and notes to us saying, "I'm glad that I went to the program. I'm glad that I brought my children to the program. They need to hear this history." It means that you wrote a story that was entertaining, exciting, inspiring, that it provoked people not just to stay in the seat, but to write a note saying, this is why I believe it's important. So that's what you did in the way that you wrote. So your words are very powerful, your direction is very powerful, and whatever you do, you're going to need it.
So the two of you, what's in the future for the two of you now?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'll be graduating in June, and most of my work so far has been in communications and writing and creative writing. So I think now I'm doing journalism for the first time in school, and it's been a revelation. So I think I'm going to pursue that path once I graduate.
Interesting, very interesting. What about you, Lindsay?
Well, I'm graduating in March, so I have a little bit less time. But I love writing, any type of writing, professional writing, screenwriting, poetry, creative fiction, nonfiction. So I'd really love to get my MFA someday, go and get my creative writing MFA. That would be a goal of mine. I'm currently doing some freelance editing work, and I've also applied to Teach for America, so it would be an amazing opportunity if something like that would work out. But I'm very, very open-minded at this moment. I think you have to be with the humanities major. But if I could spend my life writing anything, I think I'd be happy.
One of the things we were talking about just before we came on is the importance of cumulative history. And when you're students, it seems that what you want to do is collect as many experiences as you possibly can. It doesn't mean you're going to continue it for the rest of your life, but you put it together, and hopefully every job that you get or every piece that you write from that point on, you can build on the experience that you have. You know, so your words have history to them as you write them, your experience of how do you write a speech versus writing a play versus writing a poem, you know, and you only get that from reading others and writing on your own.
What's the future of the program, Dan?
We're going to continue the program.
We just have a few minutes.
We just got a few minutes, but any tidbits you're going to share with us?
I can't really say yet. I can't really say yet. I know that we'll have something to do, obviously, with some part of our shared civil rights history. And I can't really say yet what it is. I have some ideas yet, but I got to do a little homework before I offer it to the public. But it'll be interesting. It'll be family friendly. It'll be something that'll provoke thought for our audience, that they feel empowered to make a change in the community.
And best of all, how much does it cost to attend?
Did you know it's free?
Oh, wow.
Did I say it's free?
I don't think you mentioned it.
Again, it's a wonderful family-focused event. you know, and it's free. One quick thing that we did that was so wonderful is that we had We Shall Overcome. We told the history of that. And our birthday girl singer sang We Shall Overcome in a very wonderful way and shared the history of that song. We sing it all the time, but why did Dr. King use it as a song for civil rights? So every year we try and tell two different types of history in the program. So we'll do the same thing next year.
Well, I want to say that this program, the program was videoed, and is playing now this month on Columbus Local Access Channel 3 is what we CTV, so you can get a chance to see it. We're just about out of time, so I want to say thank you to Joseph Frazier.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best in your endeavors this next year, graduating journalism and those wonderful, keep the jewel sparkling for us. And Lindsay, March you'll be graduating, and loving writing. So I'm glad to hear the excitement that you brought to this. So thank you very much for being on our show. Dan Willis.
First Class Productions.
First Class Productions.
And I want to say thank you to The Ohio State University for supporting our program year after year. Dean Shonda, Mark Shonda, supports our program at all levels and thinks it's that important to support it every year for us. So that's how I want to give him thanks for that.
Well, we want to thank all of you for being on our show. And this is Neal and Nelson. We're here. We'll be here next month. But during this month, check out these guys and get to see their writing and get to see those pieces of the Martin Luther King program. And you'll get to see our mayor and all the wonderful celebrities that are a part of this work together. And we're glad that you joined us for Diversity in Central Ohio. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.